Wow.
Okay.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, it is.
That tickle.
Tickles.
Mm.
Wow.
Although many like to believe that we have reached a point where boys and girls are treated equally, one only has to look at the children's section of clothes to realize that this isn't true. Infants are subjected to uncomfortable, frilly, pretty clothes on account of their sex. Meanwhile, boys are allowed to wear clothes that are made for movement, for ease of play, and for comfort. It is from even before infancy that we begin to treat our children differently on account of their sex. China is currently missing millions of girls due to sex-selective abortion and infanticide, a silent genocide if there ever was one. After birth, gender socialization occurs even if unintended. If you offer your daughter a free selection of whatever choice she'd like, there's a good chance she'll still pick dolls and kitchen sets simply because she's mimicking you and how you act. In the same vein, no matter how much you preach that it doesn't matter what she looks like or that she's beautiful the way she is, if she watches you shave, put on makeup, preen, and pick over your appearance, she will imbibe your actions more so than your words. It is not surprising, then, that many female children are choosing to dress more provocatively, to be more self-conscious over their body hair or shape, and to fret over their appearance years before those of the older generation thought to do so. Part of this is due to increasingly younger puberty, as well as increased sexualization. Kids are being exposed to porn even before puberty hits. As a result, boys are learning to objectify and harass women before they even reach high school, and girls are learning that beauty is supposedly power, that degradation and femaleness are one and the same, and of course, they are learning that they are not what they're supposed to be. Sex objects, of course. Females have no other purpose than to please men, and whatever whims and desires they may conceive. If you raised your daughter like your son, it would be seen as a progressive act. To let her wear comfortable clothes, to get dirty, to make messes, to be unaware and uncaring of her appearance, and wholly unfocused on anything but her experience. If you raised a son the same way as you raised a daughter, you would be called a child abuser. It's shockingly unshocking to teach a child, a non-teenager, to remove the hair from her legs. But for boys, it screams pedophilic grooming, brings to mind a nauseating image of a preteen boy with no idea what he is doing or why it is deemed necessary. It creates the idea of a leering adult who simply wants the boy to look prepubescent. There is no normalization to hide behind. By doing this to a human being, that is, a boy, we defamiliarize it, unmask it, and can finally begin to understand how deeply sick girlhood is. Why is sexualization seen as an inherent part of girlhood? Why isn't there a comparable part of boyhood?
I'm pretty and smart, and I get along with everyone, even ugly girls. I'm pretty.
We indoctrinate girls at a young age to place beauty above all else. When people bring up the dangers of beauty standards in the past, they mention dangers like the Elizabethan preoccupation with paleness, found in the egg-white gleam of skin whitening products, or the use of ceruse, a mixture of white lead and vinegar. Chinese foot binding, which used breaking of the toes and other bones to permanently change the shape of the foot. The blackened teeth of Japan and Vietnam, to the tight-laced corsets of the Victorian era, and criticized those women for being so foolish as to partake in beautifying actions that have hurt them. And yet, these same critics are either willfully ignorant or so prideful as to believe that they couldn't fall for the same trap. A recent study has found an increased risk of uterine cancer in people who use hair straightening chemicals. Among women who use these products, often called perms or relaxers, the risk of developing uterine cancer has more than doubled. Another report has found that polyester sports bras and athletic shirts made by Pink, Althea, The North Face, and other manufacturers contain up to 22 times the safe amount of bisphenol A, BPA, as based on California's Proposition 65 Right to Know law. Prop 65, also known as California's Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act of 1986, informs consumers of 2 high levels of chemicals in products that may cause cancer or harm to the female reproductive system. High-heeled shoes can cause a plethora of foot problems while impairing stability and increasing the risk of injury. Leg, back, and foot pain are among some of the more common complaints. Long-term use can even cause structural changes in the foot itself, leading to bunions, hammer toe, neuroma, equinus, and other conditions that may require surgical correction. In addition to injury, high heels place excessive stress on the back and lower extremities that can profoundly affect posture, gait, and balance. Shaving is detrimental, as hair prevents skin from irritation when it rubs against itself, protecting from chafing in many areas of our body, especially in the underarm area. Hair also prevents different pathogens from invading our body, such as in the pubic area. And all of this doesn't take into account the psychological harm that using these products may cause, not only to ourselves, but to younger girls who will notice that our actions haven't exactly caught up with what our mouths are saying. Beauty kills. It hurts you physically. It hurts you psychologically. It produces a generation unwilling or unable to see women as being worth respect, or even really as human beings unless attractive. And even then, the line is thin between being a person and merely an object of desire. This, dear viewers, is where we part. This topic is interesting to me because I think everyone can point out that beauty standards are bad, right? We can all say that's bad. We should be able to, exist in better shapes. But even people who put out these messages, Meghan Trainor's music, any of the larger pop stars, they're still doing everything else. They're still wearing the makeup. They're still wearing clothes that show off whatever assets they think is desirable to a larger audience. They're still doing the same thing, but they're claiming that they're not somehow playing into beauty standards still. They think that they're somehow different. And I think when it comes to children, it's especially harmful because look at this. The way these children are being treated, they don't understand this. They're not going to be able to understand why they feel like shit about this part of themselves that's normal until they get older. They're not even going to really register this as being abusive. Most people aren't going to register that as being abusive, but it is. That's the incorrect way to respond to a child saying, I'm being bullied or treated harshly for the way that I look. It shouldn't be, the bullies are right, we need to change you. It should be, the bullies are stupid and wrong, and it doesn't matter. They have the same thing that you have. But I feel like a lot of people are terrified of the idea of standing out in a negative way, of having to deal with that, and having, especially as adults, I don't shave. I don't shave my legs, haven't in years. I don't shave my underarms. I don't shave anything. I don't wear makeup, and I have pretty bad acne scarring. I wear my hair in what's comfortable, usually not the best way, just in the most comfortable way, and I dress in clothes that are comfortable overall else. And doing that makes a difference. I've heard people mention that it's difficult, and you might be pressured, and people will say things, and the thing is, that's kind of how it works. Nothing worth doing is going to be easy. And after a while, they're going to get used to it. They're going to get used to the fact that that's what you look like. And then maybe one day they'll go home and realize, why am I spending hours and hours out of my week doing all this shit? And then maybe they'll too consider stopping. It's important to not just talk about feminist topics, but to actually take feminist action. It is useless to only ever talk and do nothing about it, because that's the same thing that liberal feminism does. They talk a lot of bullshit, and they do nothing to actually follow up on what they're saying. All they ever do is talk, and nothing changes, and yet we think that something has because people are talking about it more. It's honestly very frustrating. And it's especially frustrating coming from so-called radical feminists who don't want to take feminist action themselves. No one's saying you have to go divorce your husband and go live in a separatist commune, but at the very least we can all stop with makeup and we can all stop with shaving. This, dear viewers, is where we end. Please let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.